Okay, hold on.
3-2. I think he's...
There we are.
We don't see him.
We don't see you, Rick.
You will.
Okay.
How about now?
There he is.
There I am.
There he is.
Let me see if my hair is fixed.
Yeah. Do you want to widen yourself out there, handsome?
No, I'm big enough as it is. I'm taking up the whole damn screen.
He was one of Arnold Schwarzenegger's old training partners.
Oh, sweet.
Don't rub it in. Listen,
Oh,
I rushed
okay.
home. Wait a minute. I rushed home. I'm
Okay.
at my door by 2 dogs, a cat, 2 turtles, and they're jumping all over me. And I said, I got to do something. Leave me alone. They just look at me like, what the hell? What are you really talking about? We're here now. Well, all right. So you superseded my animals. Well, thank you very much. It's been a fun interview, but I got to go now.
Jaime, zoom, Rick, zoom out a little. Just a little.
Back up. Is that
You
better?
want to back up? Jaime, is that good?
Well, my
like that.
computer's at the end of my table. Otherwise, it's going to be on the floor.
So if you can tilt up.
All right. Can you tilt up a little, Rick, on the camera?
Boy, he's awfully picky, isn't he?
Well, he's good.
Does he have a high estrogen
Go
count?
down a little. Go down a little.
That's what she said last night.
Easy.
That's good.
Okay, that's perfect.
Yeah, of
Okay,
course it is.
recording, Jaime?
Yes.
Okay.
Recording.
All right.
Double check. I'll close the door.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
All right, Rick, we're alone. It was great. It's great to see you.
And you too. We've had a lot of conversations. Good stuff.
It's great to see you. I'm a little overwhelmed here, so. All right. I want to talk to you about the golden age of bodybuilding.
Yes.
I want to talk to you about, first of all, what it was like in the 70s in the original Gold's Gym to walk into that gym 2 blocks from the ocean, natural sunlight coming from the ceilings,
Yep.
and training with some of the greatest bodybuilders of all time. Talk to me about that first.
All right, I want to tell you how I felt about it because I grew up in a desert town, Bakersfield, and I always wanted to be at the beach. I always went down as a kid, and one day said, I'm moving to Santa Monica, Venice. That's it. It'll never be the same. That's where I'm going to put my feet in that sand, and that's where I'm going to stay. So I had walked into the back door of the gym, and there was Arnold and a bunch of guys, and we talked, and I looked around. It wasn't really a fancy gym by any means. It's small. It had heavy equipment, but it had an atmosphere that you just wanted to train like really hard when you walked in that door. So I see all these guys from the magazine, and you know, you're impressed, of course. And we became friends instantly, and it had the atmosphere of a camaraderie of something that I don't think I've ever experienced in my life. I mean, we had that in high school, but it's not the same. So, I mean, I lived a mile from the gym. I was on the beach as well, and every morning I go down there, walk in the door, there's always everybody there. It's like going to the office where you work, but where you work with weights. And it just had a feeling that could never be reproduced. There were only 2 women in the whole gym. Joe had one one shower, and he didn't care. He said, most of the guys don't shower anyway. So I'd be showering, all of a sudden I hear a girl, can you hand me the soap? Yeah, here you go. It was just like that. Everybody had just laid back. It was the 70s. It was the hippie generation. And so it was good. And we'd all hang together, train together, and after the gym, we'd go down to the beach, maybe take a run, or go to the Jamaica Bay in the marina, have lunch, go back and lay on the beach for a couple of hours, and that was the life. I was thinking about that this morning. I want that life back. I want it back.
And
it was the best.
So, Rick, did you know that you were part of something very great?
I had no idea. I had no idea. You know, when you're in the moment, you don't know where it's going to go in the future. All I knew was I was there, and I was training with great guys. Arnold was just a normal guy. Dave Draper was a normal guy. We all were buddies. We didn't think about it being anything more than Weeder coming down on Sundays and taking us to lunch and taking some shots for the magazines. And then you're in the magazines, and you're one of the guys. You never really think about what that really means. It's good at the moment, but people outside the magazine didn't realize what it was. I showed my mom. Of course, she was very proud. Oh, that's really nice. But did she really know? I don't know if she really knew. I think later on she figured it out. But then when it went mainstream and then people would see you, and then of course we're doing a lot of TV work with celebrities and all that, then it became noticed. You know, growing up, John, in training like you and I do, we are in a cult. We're in a niche of people that only really understand what we do. When you're around your friends, like my high school friends that I grew up with, they always thought I was weird. I was a lead guitarist in the band, and that's what they thought I was going to do. Then I became a wrestler, which was really weird, and a bodybuilder, which was even more weird. And why would you want to do a thing like that? Because I wanted to. That was my passion. And it wasn't for money, and it wasn't for fame. It's just a passion. And they didn't understand the passion. They thought I was stupid. Nowadays, when I talk to them, they say, oh, I didn't think you'd have time to talk to me. You're so popular all over the place. I said, well, I have time because you're my friends, and that's more important to me than anything. So I think they kind of get it, but then they look out the window at you that you're the one that got away. You know, they're there behind the barbed wire and the fences and can't escape the town. And you evolved into the beach community and became a name. So it's a different world.
Well, I want you to tell me briefly, Rick, if you could, about the golden age of bodybuilding. And I think of a very free-spirited time. I think of a time when carefree, Dave Draper type of training, carefree, the 70s, eating and training. What was it? What was it like? I mean, what was the lifestyle like?
Well, there was no pressure. I mean, like today, there's pressure. At my age now, I'm under pressure because I have a show and I have things I need to do and they got to get done. I'm the one in charge. Back then, I had no pressure. I started a job with Kellogg Cereal just to move here from Bakersfield as a sales rep. I ended up going to supermarkets and putting the managers on workout routines. So I didn't like checking Kellogg Cereal. So once I moved to the beach and I was training and going to the gym every day, there was no pressure. We'd go to the beach, we'd do what? We'd work out, I'd wrestle at night, I had a few bucks in my pocket. I didn't worry where the next dollar was coming from, it just came by itself. And there was no pressure. You had your utilities and bills, rent was $165 a month, that was nothing. Food is probably the most expensive because you're on a high protein diet. But we had parties on the weekend. We go to the marina and pick up chicks in the marina and the clubs and, go in and flex a bicep a couple of times. They'd go crazy. I said, if you want to touch it, you got to pay me. And, so, and this is what we did. I mean, I'd go with Arnold and the guys and, he'd flex his bicep and they'd like go through the roof. And a friend of mine pulled my shirt, feel Rick's abs. And they'd like, oh man, I've never seen anything like that. Well, today it's pretty common. But back then it was very unusual. We'd walk the streets. I remember I went for an audition for a commercial. I took Arnold with me up in Hollywood. He said, I'm going to go in the store. You go on the audition. I'll meet you back at the car. I said, okay. I'm waiting in the car. He's got a pair of shorts on and just a big shirt, short sleeve shirt, buttoned to here, and a pair of flip-flops. And he's walking down the boulevard. He's 260 pounds. You just see this massive meat walking towards you, Cars are like hitting each other and horns are honking and people running red lights. Who's that guy, But it was just how it was. It was fun. And wherever we went, we just had a laugh. House of Pies on Saturday night, Zucchi's Deli during the mornings, and in the evenings around 10, we'd meet over there and have cheese omelets before going to bed. It's just one of those things, It was just, hey, I'll go to Zucchi's tonight at 10. I'll meet you guys there. Okay, it's a gathering place. It's a deli, a Jewish deli. And we all hung out, sat in a big booth, and just laughed. It was great.
What was the Schwarzenegger drive that everyone talks about now? This Germanic Teutonic type of attitude.
Yeah.
What the hell? Let's just go for it. And this drive, this unparalleled drive that he talks about. Did he have that?
That was not put on. That was him. He always thought the Germans were smarter and better than anybody. And I was Jewish, so he thought a German and a Jew working out together is kind of odd. but Joe Weider was Jewish as well, and Joe Weider wrote his checks. And I remember going out to Weider's magazine once, and Arnold says, I need some money, Joe. And Joe says, I'm broke, I have no money. He says, just a minute. And Arnold pulls a checkbook out of his pocket, he fills it out, says, sign it. That's my check. But he was driven. You could tell in his workouts, he just didn't take no for an answer. And even on auditions, when I went with him on a couple, he screwed up the lines, and he was horrible at acting back then. And I told him, I said, I don't think you'll ever even get it as an actor. Just forget about it. But he was driven to do the job, and he built on his body, but his body also, with that, came a personality and charisma that most guys don't have. And so people would meet him, they liked him. He's funny, he's a nice guy, he's fun to be around, he make you laugh. And so this all kind of worked in his favor. Doing the Tonight Show and stuff like that, he became a household name. So he became the best bodybuilder, and then he became the biggest box office with all of his films. I mean, Terminator blew everybody away. It's a great movie.
Conan the Barbarian, he said that this was all of my fantasies coming together.
Yeah.
You could almost see it, eating the chicken, the way he even chewed the meat.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean. You
yeah,
get
I do.
it, you get
I
it.
do.
You know what I mean. You know what I mean, bro. So okay.
Wait, John. We had a guy that came in the gym. We called him a missing link. He'd come in and eat a chicken, he'd eat the bones and all. I said, what are you doing? And he had this funny little, he says, well, the bones are really good for you. They have a lot of marrow in them. And he'd eat them. Eat the whole chicken, bones and all. So this is what these guys were like back in that day. Nothing seemed to matter. He'd come in the gym in a pair of bathing suits or no shoes and squat 400 right off the bat, this guy. And he'd ride his motorcycle down the freeway, had no peg on one side, so his foot would dangle and hit the pavement, kept kicking up. But these were characters that made the gym happen. It was, I have a list of characters back then. I only wished I would have had video on them, but I have them all by name, and I have photos, and I want to do something with that.
Yeah. So the original Gold's Gym.
Yeah.
1,000 square feet, right? 1,200 square. What was it?
Probably 1,000 square feet.
Mm-hmm. And talk about it. All handmade equipment.
It was a cinder block building on a piece of property right by the ocean. Joe Gold bought property at the beach when he could buy a lot for like $5 or $10 grand. Now it's millions of dollars. And he owned a lot of lots around Venice and Santa Monica. So he decided, the guys were training on the beach, and he decided one day, I'm going to build a gym inside so with bad weather conditions, these guys can come in and train. They were all friends of his. So he built a cinder block building, put all the plumbing and the pipes and all the electrical in, and he built all of his equipment in his garage. He was a welder. He could make all this homemade equipment, brought it in there, he'd size it, we'd sit at it, he'd say, you think it needs to be changed, just move it over an inch, direct this a little bit, do this a little bit, and he brought it all in. It was probably the best equipment I think I've ever used in my life. And he got the gym started in 1965, charging $40 a year if you had it. If you didn't have it, just go ahead and work out. So it was one of those things, and it's just a hardcore gym. I mean, no frills and thrills. It just is a place to train. It just had that feeling about it. One water fountain, one shower, a heater on the roof that didn't work. He put it in because he had the pass code, but he never connected it. He says, never cold here anyway. You don't need heat. So he was that way. But
well, you had the greatest bodybuilders of all time during that time. That you had the Serge Nubres, the Ed Corneys. Who are some of the others from Europe? I don't know. Serge Nubret and
Paul Grant. There was Paul Grant.
Paul Grant from Australia. Yeah.
But they would all come to Venice to train because that was the mecca of bodybuilding. This gym made a name, and the reason it made a name is first it had the old guys from the 40s and 50s, like Steve Reeves and those types of guys from the beach, and then when Joe built it up, the gym up, it had a whole new influx of people in the 60s, and Draper was training there, who was originally training at Muscle Beach Gym and the Dungeon, which was another basement gym that was like a hole in the wall. He started training there. Joe Weider came down and started doing his photo shoots there for his magazine. So as you know, anytime you do a photo shoot somewhere and people see the gym, they want, what gym is that? Well, it happens to be Gold's Gym in Venice, which became, oh my God, that must be the place where everybody is. So, of course, Arnold came there, Franco came there, Waller came there, Roger Callard, Ken Keene, myself, Ed Giuliani, Frank Zane. We were all there, and then everybody was filming in the gym. Group shots, training shots, whatever. That's where it happened. So that gave the gym a name. And because it had a name, that became the mecca of bodybuilding. It's still there today. It's owned by a lady who made a beautiful home inside, but still says Gold's Gym on the outside and cinder block. You don't even know it's a house inside. It's gorgeous.
And it's completely changed, right? I mean, yeah, it's you can't even tell. Now, the release of, I want to talk to you about the fitness craze. This started with you guys, okay? You guys were the ones who originally started this whole thing. Arnold, I guess, was the personality behind it.
Right.
Talk about the release of Pumping Iron and what it did for fitness.
Well, Pumping Iron, George Butler and
Charles Gaines
came to film. And they used the gym a lot for filming at that point. Candice Bergen came in one day for one of the Today shows and did a photo shoot. And she says, do you mind if I take pictures of you? I said, no, not at all. And so she did a bunch of shots. And I've never seen to this day. I don't even know where they are. But it became the place to go. It's the go-to place to shoot stuff. Well, they decided to do Pumping Iron as a documentary, and they put it together. And Arnold called me one day. He says, can you come to my house? We're filming. And bring your guitar and play. And I said, well, I don't know. I said, are we being paid for this? Because I was a member of Guild, SAG. No, you're not being paid. And I was kind of like headstrong and thinking, well, if I'm going to put my
but he got 50 grand. But
yeah, I want a few $100 to come over there. In the meantime, I got booked wrestling, so I was wrestling at night, and I couldn't make it. So I had a tour, and so they started filming in the gym and doing their thing as a cult classic, but no one knew where it was going to go. And today, look at it, Pumping Iron is like a huge deal. And Stay Hungry and some of those as well.
But what did it do for? What did Pumping Iron do for fitness? After people saw that, what happened?
Well, I don't know if that had that much to do with fitness. It had a lot to do with bodybuilding itself and bodybuilders, because that's a whole different thing than fitness. Being a bodybuilder doesn't mean you're actually fit. It means you're a bodybuilder. Being in fitness means that you're a fitness athlete. You know, you're lean and hard, and diet, blah, blah, blah. But bodybuilding is really not the healthiest thing in the world, because you're extreme dieting, you're training hard and killing your joints, but you look good. It's like a classic car at a car show, but the engine needs a little work. So that's the way I look at it. But it put bodybuilding on the map. But if you think back about that, if you didn't have Joe Gold's Gym, and if you didn't have Joe Weider, bodybuilding would not be what it is today. There's no way in the world it would have taken off on its own. They needed something behind it, a force like a magazine, like Muscle and Fitness or Flex. That's what put it on the map. Pumping Iron was in and out. I mean, it hangs around, but the magazines go from table to table to table to table, and everybody reads them. So then he turned it into a fitness magazine and more of a fitness model magazine, and that attracted the people that wanted to get into fitness. Not everybody wanted to be Arnold. They just wanted to be in shape. And when people would come to me and say, yeah, I want to work out, but I don't want to be like him, I'd always say, don't worry, you won't. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen like that. If it did, we all look like him.
Right.
It's true.
Right. So in the 80s,
Yeah.
Rick, stay with me here.
I'm falling asleep. No, I'm with you.
Well, I don't want you to fall asleep. In the 80s,
Yeah.
gyms started opening up across the country.
Yes.
I want to know why. It was because of you guys.
It was because of us guys.
We'll talk about that.
The magazine took off, and everybody was reading Muscle and Fitness and Flex and Iron Man, of course. Those were the major magazines. There were Muscle Builder, Muscle Power that came prior to that. But they were on the shelves, and they were on mainstream magazine racks where before they weren't, and people were picking up and looking at them. So fitness started to get more popular and more popular. The 80s, Gold's Gym moved. It was over on Hampton, where it is today, which is a huge building. It attracted people like Lyle Alzado, Hulk Hogan, all the name people, all the major. Mickey Rourke is there, Ray Liotta. All these people go to that gym. That's the main gym that they went to that get into shape. So that made it another name because celebrities are going there. Everybody else is going to go there. So the 80s was a little different than the 60s and 70s. It just evolved a little bit more. The look, the styles and the bodies and this and that. Rick Valente was one of the guys. Great body, great guy, still training today. And they had the Barbarian Brothers, which we didn't have back in the 60s. And they're a unique pair.
David and Paul.
I know. David's on my Facebook, and I'm trying to get him for an interview, and he's a photographer and a very good one. I tried to get them into wrestling, but you couldn't even hold them down. They didn't know how to make out a check and sign it. I printed shirts for them. I had a T-shirt company, and they didn't know how to write a check, so I had to write it and have them sign it. But you need an organization for that kind of thing to make them into wrestlers. But they did okay. They just didn't take it to the level that they could have. They were crazy.
So what did you guys do though? I mean, what did you guys do? I mean, people in gyms still talk about you guys, okay? And after the release of Pumping Iron, it exploded because people wanted to start training. Correct?
Yes. Well, they like the bodies from that era. Today's bodies are so pumped up and overblown from taking, not just anabolics. Anabolics were around then. We all took them. But insulin and growth hormones and things that blow you out of proportion. Synthol, which is an injectable fat that goes into your muscle. Oh. It throws everything out of proportion. It's not pleasing anymore. These guys look like elephants walking around. Back in the day, we had small waist, broad shoulders, like the Reeves type body. And in clothes, you look great. I mean, you look big, but you look in shape. And people want that body. I get so many emails from my show, Rick's Corner, today that say, I want a body like that. I want to go on your diet. These are kids 22, 25 years old, which you think would have no respect for that. But they love it. And that's what they want to go back to. How'd you eat? What'd you train? How many times a day did you go to the toilet? That type of thing. What'd you do for roughage and fiber and all that stuff? So it was really, John, it's really basic. You see trainers today with the ball and they're the core workout and throw the ball back and forth. No. We did basic workouts like you and I talked about. Chest and back, shoulders and arms and legs. Repeat the next 3 days. Heavy sets, medium sets, light sets.
The bent over rows, the squats, the pull-ups, the basic movements.
Basic movements. And 80% of it is diet. It's what you eat. Back then, we had high protein, low carb. We ate cottage cheese at every meal. I had people dispute me. Why cottage cheese? I don't like cottage cheese. Cottage cheese is like eating steak. It's got the same protein content. You can disguise it like Ken Waller did with honey.
The other night says everyone but you. So I said, fuck you, Rick. I'm eating fucking cottage cheese. And I started eating fucking cottage cheese, so fuck you.
You don't eat fucking cottage cheese. You eat, actually you do eat fucking cottage cheese.
So I want to ask you, what was it like training?
One thing. I just had lunch. I had a tuna omelet.
Tuna omelet.
Tuna, eggs, and cottage cheese. What best protein can you get? That's the best you can get.
Big steak and a tuna omelet.
Yeah, but tuna omelet alone takes the place of a steak. If I have a steak, I'll have steak and cottage cheese. This was tuna omelet and cottage cheese. I'll have the steak tonight. All right, I'll go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right, what was it like training with Schwarzenegger?
Oh, we had a good time. He was very competitive, and I was too. And so our bench presses, we would really load it on there to see if we could outdo each other. He's very strong. I think I beat him by 10 or 15 pounds on the beach one day. I benched 455. He was about 440. But he was a lot heavier than me. I think I was around 212, 209.
Jesus.
And then, the dumbbells would go up. I go up to 150s for a few reps. I don't do that now, of course. Curls are like 50, 60 pounds. Now I'm doing 20s. It's too hard on the body. Did it for long periods of time. But he trained heavy, but he didn't train extremely heavy. It was more medium weight, more focused on the reps. And the thing is that he has a video out in which I saw as well. And I see guys in the gym doing everything wrong. You've got to have your mind on what you're doing. I don't care if it's what you're doing there at the news or what I'm doing here or in the gym. If you're working a muscle, you think about what the muscle's doing up and down so that it gets the best benefit out of the work you're doing. Most people in the gym are just curling weights and looking around, they're picking their nose. They don't know why they're there. If you were to take a person that's trained by somebody and send them in the gym by themselves, they wouldn't even know what to do. The trainer didn't tell me what to do, I don't know what to do. But
So
you learn. Back then they learned from reading magazines, and watching guys.
he was very competitive. He was very driven.
Yeah. He always had to be the best. There's no question. He had to be the best everywhere. And he was. There's no question about it. He had an awesome body, small waist, everything.
Cocky, arrogant.
Not really. People say that, but he did it with humor. He was cocky, but he didn't do it to be mean. He did it to be funny. And he was funny. And we had a lot of laughs. And people might think he was cocky, but nah, he was a really good guy. I mean, he'd always help people and talk to people, never turn anybody down. I don't ever see him doing that. He's a nice guy.
Now, you have started, what would you call it, a YouTube shows?
Well, I like to think of it as my talk show, John.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, this is. I work for a network affiliate, so
Yes.
how can I label this? Like, what is it that you have been doing? And for how long have you been doing it?
I've been doing it for 6 years. It's an internet talk show.
Internet talk show.
Everything goes to internet nowadays, as you know. It doesn't cost a lot. It's easy to do, and you reach millions and millions. I started this, if I look to my right, and you can't see it, right outside my window is a 16-foot wrestling ring in my backyard. And I train people for wrestling on Thursdays and Saturdays. I have a good group of guys, young and old. And so by having that, I was teaching people how to talk when they cut promos for wrestling promos. I'm the equalizer. I'll tell you something right now, brother. Here's what I'm going to do to your head. I'm going to posh it like a pomegranate and get all the stuffing out. Well, I teach the kids how to talk, but more in a gentle way. Tell me who you are, what your passion is, why you're doing wrestling. And they begin good at talking. So someone says, why don't you put it on YouTube and call it Rick's Corner and have the kids in the ring? So I did. And it started getting an audience of kids and guys who wanted to watch wrestling and talk wrestling. And I got to a point saying, my roots are really bodybuilding, even though they're two things. And so I'll start doing some bodybuilding stuff, and I got some celebrities on. I started talking about diet, nutrition, training of the days of Arnold, training arms, training legs, what it was like at Gold's, and the audience just blew up. And I started with about, a couple of hundred viewers, and now I'm over 16 million. And it's a good show. I evolved into a nice studio now. I have good guests coming on, interesting guests with a lot of things to talk about. From that, I've hosted AfterBuzz TV, that Maria Menounos is from the NBC network, and I host Actors Entertainment over in Hollywood, interviewing actors, producers, and writers, which I know a lot about. I have my own show, Ric Drasin Live in Hollywood, and Tough and Tender about relationships with my girlfriend, because I've had a lot of relationships.
I'm staying away from that one. All right, so no, I'm no good there.
No.
So, all right, so did you have any idea like what you guys were doing in the early '70s would evolve to what's going on now? Like everyone, here's the thing: in the '60s and the '70s, people didn't go to the gym. Okay.
Right.
In the '40s and the '50s, the actors had padded coats.
Yeah.
To make their shoulders look broader. They had extra wide leg pants to make their legs look bigger. Okay. But did you guys have any idea in the '70s that that the fitness would evolve to what it is right now?
No. You had Jack LaLanne, who was the other side of fitness. You had fitness buddies, Bernie Ernst and his wife Jeannie, they had a fitness show for like 15 years, and they had calisthenics and things for women at home, and that was a whole nother craze. And then you had Gypsy Boots, who was a hippie, self-made kind of like a celebrity who would go on the beach and hand out Gypsy Boots candy bars and go on Johnny Carson, and he kind of made a name about fitness that way, but he wasn't really in shape. He was a skinny guy, all hairy. No, we had no idea. You live in the moment. I remember being in the gym and looking in the mirror at myself and saying, I look in good shape. I'm going to be this way forever. I was 30 years old, 28 years old. I'm going to stay this way forever. Well, now I'm 70, and I didn't stay that way forever because things change. Your body changes. I have injuries from wrestling, and you just don't know what's going to happen in the future, so you don't think about it. You just think that this is how I'm going to be forever. Maybe I don't need to work out anymore. I'll just stay like this, which isn't possible. But no, we had no idea. We lived in the moment. I can't tell you 10 years from now what it's going to be. I don't know. I'm living for today. And a lot of the guys I trained with that back in that time, many are passed away, and many of them look horrible. They just let themselves go. They're crippled up. They're skinny. Some of them, I didn't even know it was them when I saw them at some of the beach contests. It's sad, actually. They just let it slide behind them. I always kept it alive. I like keeping it alive.
When you look back on those days, what do you think of?
I think of the freedom I had on the beach, my life to come and go and do what I wanted when I wanted to, staying in shape all the time, always feeling good about yourself, hitting the auditions. Wrestling at night was a treat. It was old school wrestling with all the guys like Freddie Blassie and people that I learned from. The arenas had a certain smell to them. They had the liniment smell in the dressing room. The audience was cheering for you, walking up and down. You knew that when you worked out in the gym and you got to the match and walked down the ring, you were going to look better than anybody there because you were in shape. So I think about those things. I think about being on the road and coming back to Gold's in Venice and doing concentration curls one night when I came to town, and I pumped my arms so big I couldn't even drive home. I think of things like that because it was fun. And I think of the deli of us all hanging out together. The beach on Sundays, we'd all sit down by the weightlifting pen, and someone would bring homemade ice cream. We'd sit down there and eat and talk and hang out all the afternoon getting tan. It was wonderful. There was nothing like it. It's just amazing what it was. And it's not there anymore. I go down now, it's sad. It's a whole different generation. There's a lot of homeless. There's a lot of gangbangers. It's not a place you really want to be. But nevertheless, that's what it is. Sad.
It's just an amazing part of history that you not only witnessed but were a part of.
Yeah.
And the greats. These are the guys that everyone talks about now. The Schwarzeneggers, the Wallers. I mean, and you were side by side with these guys. And to many, they have this mythological presence about them that will continue forever. And you had a postman by the name of Art Zeller.
Right.
That would come into the gym and would take pictures for Leaders Magazine.
That's right. Art Zeller, he worked for the post office. He got Arnold his first P.O. box in Santa Monica, P.O. Box 1234, where he did all of his mail order courses from. But Artie was a photographer, and a good one. He took a lot of my shots, a lot of everybody's shots. He just was good at what he did. And Joe Gold had a name for everybody. He called Artie the Clicker. And the reason he called him that is because when he'd talk, he would always do he'd click. And he had a name for everybody. Seymour Koenig was the snail because he was always late. He just had people. There was a guy named Bob Siegel. He called him Bugsy Siegel because he looked like a gangster. Every guy in that gym had a nickname, and so it was fun because this is our group. This was the group that we hung with, and just one of those things.
Amazing.
Great time.
Just amazing. And I got to wrap this up in a minute, but I interview people today about this golden time of bodybuilding, and they all say that it was pumping iron that spurred them, the owners of gyms. It was that bite, seeing Schwarzenegger, that opened up the road to fitness. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that because it's real life. That's like a reality show of today. That was a reality show. There's a little thing spiced up here and there, but that's behind the scenes. What's better than behind the scenes of something, seeing how real people act? Remember there was a TV show called Real People. I was telling somebody about that one day. It's the real life story of us guys back in the day. I have a lot of photos back then. I don't have any videos because videos weren't really popular. My son was born in '79. There were no video cameras. Tommy Chong from Cheech and Chong worked out with us. He loaned me a CEOO2 RCA camera that was bigger than my table to film my kid for a month while he was little. And I don't have the video because it was on a beta, some Quasar thing. But that was the only camera they had. They were enormous. But had I a video back then, I would have had history on all these guys. I know what I would have done with it. It just wasn't available. But it's a lifestyle. It's pumping iron tells it. I think there's still some videos and shots floating around somewhere someone has. I get things sent to me from YouTube a lot. I never had a commercial that we did. Arnold and I did a commercial with some guys called Heavy Chevy. We had to put the Chevy up in the air and it was on a cable. There were several of us, and I actually have a copy of it in still shots. First thing we ever did on TV. They took us all, gave us haircuts, paid us $1,000 for the day, and it went national. That's what inspired him and inspired me and a few other guys to join Screen Actors Guild and start getting acting roles. And that's the other thing. In the gym back there, they had a payphone on the wall. Well, I'd usually answer the phone. I'm next to it. I was working the gym a little bit. We need some guys for Flip Wilson show. We need some guys for Johnny Carson. We need some guys at CBS. Can you round up 7 or 8 guys? Yeah, I got them all together. We all went down. We got the jobs. So we were like tuned in,
That's
nice.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So why did Schwarzenegger make it big and other guys didn't? Obviously Hollywood's difficult with acting. What set him apart?
His charisma, his personality, and his drive. He knew how to schmooze people to get what he wanted, and the other guys, many guys don't. If you look at bodybuilders today on stage, the new ones, most of them don't have any personality. All they do is growl and this kind of thing.
Yeah, nothing.
He won them over with his humor, and they liked him. He was likable, And so he had the look. He had what they wanted. First they wanted him for the Hulk, but he didn't want to do it. They got Ferrigno. Now Ferrigno looks great too, but Ferrigno doesn't have the humor that Arnold has. Ferrigno's much more serious, and he doesn't joke a lot. And Arnold can joke about himself or anybody else. You see him today, he's still funny. He says things that are still funny. And people got used to it. And I think it really helped him move forward. He was right for the roles he had. He did a few things that weren't great, but for what he did, it was good. Conan and Terminator, my God, come on. One of the best.
Oh, the best.
One of the best.
The best. The
Yeah.
best. Rick, I want to wrap it up here and just say that, you know, a lot of people probably ask you the very same questions that I have asked you over the course of the past month, right?
Usually
It's
on every corner.
Right. It's the same questions but different faces, right?
Yeah. But I always give different answers.
No, you actually really don't. Because
Yeah.
you're actually very consistent because I've been watching your show ad nauseum.
Yeah.
Hey, I appreciate your time. I love you a lot.
Thank you.
And let's talk soon.
I just want people to know that they can catch me on rickscorner.com.
I got you.
You got me covered there?
I'm going to get in trouble, but I'll get you tonight at 10.
I got to be there.
All right, so I'll send you a link to the report. It's going to be on our website.
Okay, John.
God bless you, Rick.
All right. Yeah, you too. And train hard, watch your carbs, and get ripped, brother.
I love you.
Love you too. Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
It's RicDrasin.com. He is the equalizer, baby. See